Welcome back, everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelly's Country Life. So today is another Review Day Friday. So BLUETTI recently reached out to me and they have a solar powered generator, and these are no stranger on the channel. We've done tests with them before. I just recently found out about the devices several weeks back and I've been absolutely blown away of what they're capable of doing. Let me tell you about this model. So we're going to go over some specs real quick, and then I have a table set up with a bunch of different items we're going to test. I asked a while back for your opinions of different items that we'll test. And as you can see, we're doing this out here in my shop. That's what we do on this channel. We do homesteading tasks, we work with tools, and we're also in Florida, which is what has intrigued me the most about these generators right here. We get hurricanes, tornadoes, power outages are common occurrences here. And a lot of y'all are like me. These devices really pique my interest for survival or power outage situations. Obviously, they're great for camping and a lot of other things, but we're going to test some of that stuff today that really fits in with power outages. So this here is the BLUETTI EB70. It is a lithium iron phosphate powered device, so that is critical. That's probably some of the best batteries out on the market right now that you can get. They claim up to 2,500 recharges on the battery pack that's in here before you reduce to 80% capacity. Doesn't mean it goes down to zero after 2,500 recharges, but that is a ton, and I mean a ton of recharges. That's what's so popular about those new batteries. This model right here claims it is 700 watts continuous, 1,400 watts surge, and what it is a pure sine wave generator. That's critical. All your electronic components that'll charge or work all off of this are nice and safe with that pure sine wave technology. So it weighs right at 21 pounds, so it's very easy to carry around if you need to carry it to different campsites, again, move it around inside your home. It comes with a power charging device right here, as well as the other things that are very nice about these. It comes with a cable to hook these up to solar panels. That is a very popular option with these type of devices right here to charge off of solar. This one claims it can take up to a 200 watt input, and if you do that full 200 watts of solar charging, can charge in as quick as 3 to 4 hours. It also comes with another cable to hook it to 12 volt for charging. Quite a bit slower to charge off 12 volts, but it's nice to have that option. As far as charging off a wall outlet, again, the claim is around 3 to 4 hours to get this device to full charge. So if you look right here on the front, it has a nice LED display, so anytime you turn on any of the different devices, it'll power up, tell you your battery percentage, your wattage output, and your wattage input. That's for any of the types of charging I just told you about. You can see the different types of input there. This unit has a 716 watt hour battery, if I remember correctly. So keep that in mind as you look at your different output for devices. It also comes with a light on the front, a low, a high, and an SOS function. Now down here on this side, you can power this area up, and it comes with two 100 watt USB-C dedicated outlets, as well as two USB outlets, two 12 volt 10 amp outlets, and a cigarette lighter outlet as well. Now over here on the other side, you can power this up, and it comes with four dedicated 110 volt outlets right here. Now to charge this device, any of those cables plugged right up into the top here, from solar to 12 volt to 110 volt wall outlet input. Another very nice feature of this model, it has a wireless charger up top with 15 watts of output. Now I apologize for talking to you with sunglasses on, but it's extremely bright out here. It's very dark in the shop, so I wanted to move some items out here to where y'all can get full sunlight and see what's going on. Now we've done one over the specs of it, but a lot of people want to see what will this device power up. So I've got a few items out here, from tools to kitchen appliances, as well as another reason I like doing these type of tests out in my shop. I have a room over here that has a full-size deep freezer and a full-size refrigerator in it. That is probably the most common request that I get for any type of power device like this. People want to see if they could save their food in a power outage situation. So we're going to test a lot of this stuff, see if it'll power up. I also had a viewer ask for a couple of other items to test, although I think they may be a bit much for an item like this. We shall see. Keep in mind, this is one of the smaller models right here. BLUETTI does offer much larger models, so if you see something here that it will not run, or have questions about running, say, larger power tools, for example, or want more capacity for an off-grid situation, they do get quite a bit larger than this model right here. So let me show you what we're going to power up real quick. I do have my doubts about these two items right here, but I had someone asked, hey, if I were at a job site and needed to air a compressor real quick and work with some air tools, would it potentially run it? Well, we're going to find out. They also asked about a shop vac. You know, I guess that makes sense if you're working in a house situation like we're building a house right now and there's no power ran over there. It'd be nice to know if it would power up tools like that, although these are very, very power intensive tools right here. So I'm thinking power outage situations. Everybody wants to run a fan, at least down here in Florida. When I'm thinking hurricanes and power outages, it's typically in the summertime and burning up hot. There's nothing more miserable than going to bed without running a fan. So we're going to see if it'll power up a box fan. I have no doubt that it will. We'll check the wattage output on the different levels there and kind of see how long it would run it. Also, I got to thinking, let me bring my big fan out here and see if it power that up. Say if you were at any kind of event, had a tent set up, maybe doing sales, and you wanted to power up a bigger fan for the day, or a cookout or get together somewhere where there's no power, I would like to see if it would run a fan that size and for how long. Obviously, again, in power outage situations, we'll see if it'll run a hot plate. These are very power intensive. Anything with a heating element does just a strong, steady draw on these. So we'll see if it'll run that. I've got a blender out here. Coffee maker's another popular request. I got a 13 amp circular saw. I got a 6 amp side grinder there, which is another very popular tool to use. And then again, we'll power up a deep freezer and refrigerator. So let's get this test started. All right, so it's quite simple. You just simply hit the power button on the section you want to turn on. Obviously the 110 volts is what I want to power up. I've got my LED display right here, which is very easy to see for me, maybe not so much on that small camera and out in the sunlight. So right now, obviously 0 watts, 100% full charge on this device. We'll turn the fan on. No issues whatsoever, what I expected. And it's pulling right at 60 watts. Now that's also on high, I should add. So let's think about that. If we have 716 watt hours and pull a 60 watts, that is well over 10 hours of runtime. Probably, what's that, 11 and a half hours of runtime. So that's really good. Now if we were to put it all the way on low for the night and say you wanted to sleep in a power outage situation, pulling 45 watts, so you get many more hours of runtime right there. So you could easily run this actually for a couple of nights on low while you slept. That's an awesome option. All right, so here's one I'm very curious about. Can it power up this very large shop fan? Let's find out. That's on low. 343 watts. So this large fan, it can power up for over 2 hours on the capacity that's inside here. Let's go to high. $454 watts, so you can still get well over an hour on high before you drain this. Keep in mind it's got 716 watt hours of capacity. Now that's nice to know right there that it'll run a fan that size. There's a lot of times on a back porch or somewhere, again at an event, a cookout, it'd be nice to have a fan that size. All right, now for a much more power-hungry device. Again, I don't think you'd want to constantly cook on one of these because heating elements draw tremendous amounts of power, but I want to see if it'll actually power this up without tripping out and what kind of wattage it'll pull so you can get an expected run time. All right, you just heard the fan kick on here, so there is output. That is heating up. I've got it all the way on high. All right, it's claiming it's pulling 578 watts, but it is powering this up. So well over an hour, you could run this before you depleted this. Now keep in mind, these cycle off and on as you're cooking, so chances are you'd probably realistically get hour and a half, 2 hours, but nobody's probably gonna be cooking that long in here. But now that you know, in a power outage situation, you could cook 2 or 3 times on a hot plate like this. All right, now blender is another popular option. I don't know that run times matters as much on a device like this. You're not gonna sit here and run this for an hour or 2 straight. But if you were again at an event or somewhere, let's see if it'll power up the initial surge of a blender. no issues. Right, another device with a very strong pull because of a heating element is a coffee maker, but I can see that being a very popular option, except if you're off-grid camping or just camping in general. All right, the coffee maker, it will not power up. Sounds like it keeps going into protect mode. That's understandable. Coffee makers draw a ton of power. All right, I have my doubts about this one, but we'll see. Say if you're in an off-grid situation, you need to run a circular saw. It's a very common tool, but they do draw quite a bit of power in an initial surge on startup. Let's see, keep in mind this is a 13 amp saw. Will not power up a 13 amp saw. Another very popular tool right here. This is only 6 amps, but also has a heck of an initial surge on startup. Let's see. No problem using a side grinder. I totally do not expect it to start these two tools, but I was asked to try it. So let's see what will happen here if we try to start a Pancake compressor. This is typically what's used on job sites before there's power or electricity. A lot of times people run them on generators. You run your nail guns and other air tools off of these. So this should have a tremendous surge on startup. Let's see. It almost started it, almost. Now a large shop vac draws a tremendous amount of power too. I have my doubts about this one, but was asked to test it, so let's see. Almost, you can tell it's so close. This is where a bigger model would really help you run tools like this. All right, so here we are in my little processing room inside my shop, and I have a full-size Frigidaire deep freezer as well as a full-size refrigerator right here. This is by far the most popular request that I get. Will this start up and run a compressor on either of these two items? Let's face it, in a power outage situation, it is not uncommon to have as much or more food in a deep freezer this size than what one of these cost. So one time of saving all that food, it's paid for itself. So as you can see, I've got the cable plugged in from the back side of the freezer. I'm going to trip the compressor on. Let's see if it'll start it up. That initial surge of a compressor is very strong. Typically after it's started, it pulls relatively low wattage. So let's see. Compressor is running, you should have heard that, and we're pulling only 130 watts. All right, it's now up to 140 watts. It's been running several seconds. The compressor's fully engaged, so no issue starting a deep freezer. That's a critical test. So that current wattage right there, with the compressor engaged, it could run this for what's that, about 5 hours if my math is correct. Now keep in mind, a compressor does not stay engaged for very long. It will kick off, wattage will go back to 0. So this could realistically probably sit here all night and longer than that once you get your freezer back down to temp and the compressor cycles off. Then it can sit here and just wait until the compressor needs to cycle on again. So you could save food for a long time on one of these before you need to recharge it. Okay, as you can see now, we're pulling 0 watts. I have my refrigerator plugged in. It has a very short cord, so I had to run an extension cord. So we're going to come over here, excuse the mess. The light is on, so it is powering that up. And let's turn this all the way up. Compressor just engaged. As you can see, it's up over 330 watts right now. I do expect that to level out. So the good news is it will power up and run a full-size refrigerator. I am shocked the wattage is staying as high as it is. I would expect that to settle off about like a deep freezer into the 100-something watt range. Well, I'm surprised to see the refrigerator still in the 300 plus watt range. So at the current rate, if the compressor were to stay engaged for that long, this could run it for well over 2 hours, close to 2.5 hours. But again, keep in mind the compressor is going to cycle off as soon as the refrigerator gets to temp, and then it may stay off for quite a while, especially if you're not opening and closing the door. So again, in a power outage situation, you want to save some food. If you don't open and close these often, you could run freezers and refrigerators for a very long time on one of these to help save your food. That is critical. That is one of the most important things for me for one of these. While it's probably not recommended at all to run something as power hungry as a window unit on one of these, I've done it before and been quite surprised. So let's see, this is a 5,000 BTU window unit. Let's see if this will actually power that up. All right, right now fan only. It's pulling about 48 watts. So you could run for a very long time fan only with one of these devices. All right, I'm gonna give it just a second and see if we can kick the compressor on. That's the real test. All right, so the compressor has been fully engaged and we're averaging around 384 watts. So at that rate, you could get, what's that, about an hour and 45 minutes of runtime out of one of these. Quite impressive. So overall, what can I say? Quite impressive. It still blows my mind that these little power packages right here can really bail you out of a bad situation. Us having a storm shelter and again living in a hurricane state, that's immediately what's on my mind. But for somebody like you, it may be camping or events or other places where you just don't have power, that these are absolutely amazing. Super easy to carry around, very lightweight. I absolutely love them. Charge your phones, just about any 110 appliance within reason. If you're wanting to power up large tools like the ones that would not power up today, I recommend the EB150 or EB240 by BLUETTI. They're much more powerful units, something you could probably tote around to a job site or take care of just about anything that you needed that's 110 volt related. So a big thanks to BLUETTI for sending this out. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. If there's something else you'd like to see me test, drop a comment, I'll test it. We may do another video later, otherwise I'll test it off camera, drop a comment back and let you know if it'll power it up, how it runs, expected run time, etc. But for main appliances and medical equipment, you know, things like CPAP machines, freezers, refrigerators, fans, things in situations like we would use it for, it does perfectly fine. Also, they're running an awesome summer sale on this right now. You can get this thing for $100 off right now. The link is down in the description and there's also a coupon code for $99 off. Don't forget to use that. We'll catch you on the next video.